Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. My name's Cody. So for this week's topic of what I want to talk about, I want to get in a little bit or a lot about personal transformation, what that means for me now and how I'm gaining steam on my personal transformation, what it could look like for you, and also what my life looked like before my personal transformation began, or my spiritual awakening, or whatever you want to call it. You know, I lived a life that seemed pretty normal on paper. This was about 4 months ago, and obviously my life prior to that, kind of building up to that. You know, I was just going through the motions. I felt kind of blah. I didn't really feel excitement. I didn't really feel joy. But one of the main things that was going on with me at the time is I was really allowing myself to get into a hopeless kind of mindset. And not so much hopeless about, like, you know, my life, not even really about my actual life, like my immediate life was actually really great. But what started happening is I started feeling hopeless for the world. I started feeling hopeless for humanity. I started feeling hopeless for all of the terrible things that were going on in the world. And it made me feel like the world was just on fire. And so I would get on Twitter, and I would get on social media, and I would get on the news, and I would constantly bombard my mind with all of these negative things that were happening. It just felt like everything was so toxic, and everyone was fighting, and the whole world was just falling apart. And I never saw the positive things that were happening in the world. I never allowed those things to kind of enter my mind. And I started getting really, really unhappy. I would delete Twitter off of my phone, but then I would have to get my fix about all the terrible things that were going on. I'd put it back on my phone. I'd start reading, scrolling, it was just terrible. It was like this really negative cycle. It was like it was an addiction. Like I really was inside of this toxic stuff, trying to make myself feel better, trying to find the right answer that would make me feel better. But then I'd go down the rabbit hole and get frustrated about, you know, American politics or all of these types of things. And I just felt so out of control. Not in control. And so it put me into a really kind of dark place. And there'd be times at night where I'd feel like I would have the weight of the world on my shoulders. Like I would honestly go to bed, close my eyes, and like I would start crying. Like I'd get tears in my eyes because I'd be so overwhelmed with frustration and a lack of hope for what's going on. And so I just started realizing and seeing people on Instagram. There were people who were really happy that I was following. And they started talking about certain things, and they started talking about how you can start changing your mindset. And so I started really searching and looking into those things. And for me, it was my change and changing my mindset and having doors of hope open up for me was actually really quick. You know, it happened to me. It was almost like a tsunami of rad shit happening to me. Like I was just ready. I started doing things that were for me, and they started making me feel good. I started following a lot of people on social media who started talking about frequency of your body and vibrations of your body, and how you can put out this positive energy, and you can do this, and there's so much goodness in the world, and there's so many rad things. Try this, try that. These things will start to make you feel better. And I dove in head first. Something in my head just clicked. Like as soon as I started latching on to some of these things, I felt so good. Like I finally felt hope. I finally realized that the best thing that I can do for myself is start working on the inside of myself, because that was where it all started. Like I just didn't feel happy on the inside, and I didn't see purpose, and I didn't see meaning, and I didn't understand that there was life could actually be exciting, and you didn't just have to go through the motions. And so I started hearing about these people talking about talking nicely to yourself. So I was open finally for the first time talking nicely to myself. I started hearing people talk about setting up a morning routine, which was, you know, what is a morning routine? I just would wake up, roll over, start scrolling on my feed, looking at Twitter, reading the news, and immediately my day went to shit. So that was my routine. And I get up and start going through the day. It was like the day was happening to me. I had no control over what was happening. And I was constantly feeding myself all of this negative information. And it just was really weighing on me. So once I started doing those things where people were telling me, like, don't pick up your phone for the first hour you wake up. Don't look at your phone, whatever it is. Don't do the news. Don't do any of that stuff. And start doing stuff that works for you. So there's this amazing book that I read. It's called the 5 a.m. Club. And it's basically this like manifesto of how to have this morning routine that'll be amazing. So I started reading that book. It was by Robin Sharma. guy is amazing. Oh my God, I cannot wait till I meet that guy in person just to thank him. But anyways, the book is amazing. It essentially tells you, like, wake up at 5 in the morning. Sounds crazy because I never did that before. Wake up at 5 in the morning and do an hour of you time before anybody else wakes up. And he talks about breaking it down into cycles, 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of, meditation, or, looking inside of yourself and thinking about, like, your gratitude and all those type of things. And then the last 20 minutes is growth. So reading something, checking a podcast, like things that'll actually help you grow as a person. You can get in the self-help, podcasts or books or spirituality or whatever works best for you. And so I started doing that. And then I started thinking about and hearing about people meditating. So I started to think meditation might actually be something, because I tried meditation before, but I never had the right mindset. I never understood the importance of it. And I also would get frustrated with my mind and that I couldn't focus or not, tune out the outside noise. My mind was always going crazy. So I started doing stuff like that, and I started actually dedicating myself to it. I did a 30-day challenge that was on Instagram from Christina from Your New Frequency. If you don't follow her or know who she is, you should check her out. And then I started seeing things about, just being aware of your thoughts. Like, just try to think and, set an intention in the morning. Write down your thoughts, that you want to be aware of your thoughts, so they don't control you. Or you can try to give yourself forgiveness and not let them have you go down a downward spiral. Another thing that I started doing was this guy named Wim Hof. I started taking cold showers, which has just been amazing. At first, dude, I cannot tell you, the first time that I took a cold shower when I was doing this was like, I literally thought I was going to die. Like, I didn't understand that you need to do some breath work before you hopped in and all this type of stuff. So I just turned on super cold and I just got in there, and it was like the worst experience. But then at the end, I felt like really invigorated. And so then I started reading up on the actual process of how you can do some breath work beforehand, and how you can start off with a warm shower and then make it cold and all that other stuff. And then next thing I know, now I can't imagine my life not taking a cold shower every single day. And so all of these things started bubbling up for me and started happening. It was like a domino effect. I'm reading spirituality books. I'm reading self-help books. I'm trying to apply these things to my life. I'm trying to grow as a person. And what ended up happening is I started becoming so happy. Like, the thing about it, though, is that obviously this is a very new process for me. And I have days, like even today, like I've been very frustrated today. I do not have this quote unquote figured out. But what I do know is where I am now to where I was then is like a happiness and a level of hope for humanity that I never had before. I started focusing on the positive things instead of the negative things. I mean, I wasn't going to be able to do anything about the negative things. I would just get down to these hopeless. And I started realizing and getting myself drawn towards hope and these people who are spreading this amazing message of love and kindness and self-care and self-love for yourself. And what ended up happening is I just didn't want any part of that toxic shit anymore. I didn't want to go down those rabbit holes of Twitter. I knew it was unhealthy, and I touched this happiness, and I don't want to ever go back there. Now, don't get me wrong, I still like pay attention to the news. I very much find it, it's important to figure out, what's happening in the world, but I don't overly consume. I would honestly, I'm embarrassed to even admit it now, but I probably spent like hours, on the news and hours doing things that were just kind of toxic to my mind. And now I just can't even imagine doing that anymore. Like, I want to be positive. I want to be love. I want to share a message of hope. And I want you to start thinking about things that you can do for yourself. Things that can change for you and make you happy and make you glow. And so much of that does not have to be like how I did it. Like, it does not have to be like this tsunami of transformation. Like, it's not like, for most people and a lot of people, it's not like this epiphany moment and then their whole life changes. Like, for me, in a lot of ways, it was like that, but I feel like so much of it built up to that. But you can take little steps. You can do little things for your personal transformation. Make little promises to yourself. If you listen to our podcast at all, the podcast I have with my wife, We Are the Stigma, we had Christina, who is this personal transformation coach, bridges science and spirituality together. And she talks about the end of the episode of how people can get started. And she talks about how you just need to do little promises to yourself, little things that are for you. Even if it's just 5 minutes in the morning where you dance, or 5 minutes in the morning where you journal, or 5 minutes in the morning where you do a quick exercise or you do some breathing or something like that. And you just do that continually, and you prove to yourself that you can do it, and you start believing in yourself, and you start doing those little steps, and then they start growing and they start growing and they start growing. And there's tons of people who are like that. You just got to believe in this happiness that can be out there for you. And this personal transformation and this growth or spiritual awakening, or however it works for you, just know like how much you're worth being happy. Like you just being born, it makes you worthy. Regardless of what your brain's telling you, regardless of what is being said internally to yourself, that, you know, you are worthy and you deserve to do the little things that will make you happy, that will slightly transform you, that could then lead to a huge transformation. So much of it is about just believing in your worth and that you deserve it. And I'm here to tell you that I did not believe I was worthy or deserved true happiness. I have addiction in my past, and I hurt people, and I was stuck in my past. And I still feel terrible about those things that happened, but I now know that I'm worthy of it and that I deserve happiness like everyone else does. You know, it's just a matter of finally coming to a point where you're just tired of feeling terrible, tired of feeling sad, you know, tired of feeling hopeless, and start doing stuff for you because you're the most important person in your life. I never would have believed that 4 months ago, but now I know it's true. And my hope and mission is to help other people figure that out for themselves. And so I hope that you can just try to make a little promise to yourself, a tiny little transformation of who you are that shows you that you're worth it and you're worthy. And whatever that looks like for you, even if it's just going for a short walk, whatever it looks like for you, just make that little promise to yourself and just do it. And give yourself some self-care and some compassion and some love. And I promise you, if you go into it with an open heart, you will see benefits, huge benefits that'll come over time. They might come quickly, they might not come right away, but you will see benefits very quickly. And then your whole life can change. Baby steps turn into huge tsunamis of just transformation and happiness and bliss. And for anybody who's watching this video, I hope that if you don't have that and you're not doing it yet, that you can. Make yourself a tiny little promise. All right. Love you guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please share it, subscribe, and let other people know about it. And I hope everyone is doing well, and much, much love. Bye.